Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RC Groups, and today we're looking at the E-flite Commander designed by David Payne and Mirko Paccarari. I didn't say that right. He's from Italy. Check out the flaps. Very awesome, pre-installed. Already has servos. We're going to take a look at those in a second. Just a good looking airplane. This is kind of a cross of multiple styles of very good looking airplanes and built to fly. I'm flying it with my DX9, by the way. And here you see it with the flaps down. We're going to jump in and look at some build photos. And I'm going to go over the build in general and show you the parts and pieces and everything you need to know. Man, we will get to the flight characteristics, but it flies great. So let's build this thing and see what we have. This is the box that you get. Everything's in there. It's not that big. It's not that heavy. And I think with the right tools, you could take this to the field and get this thing going like on a workbench out there before you go fly. Here's the wing. Like I say, pre-installed servos. Everything here looks to be quality to me as a guy that's built his own airplanes. And from the servos to the way they're connected, the links, everything is done right, of course. And then here's a feature in the wing. You slide the wing on, and I'll show that in a minute, and everything is pre-plugged. So there's no plugs to worry about. Here's the bottom side of the wing with the flap, and all the graphics are already on there, and they look great. Very awesome. And there's the top. These are my favorite colors, by the way, these three colors right here. So, of course, I'm a fan. You could put whatever you need on top of that wing. And then here's the main part, the fuse. It's still in the plastic wrapping. And we're going to pull that out and start putting things on. All the stickers, like I say, are already on there. If you've ever had to put something like this on a plane, decals, it can take longer than the actual build. Here's our pilot. I'm not sure if that's a real person. I'm pretty sure it's not. Could be David Payne. I'm not sure. And then here's where your wing plugs into. There's a tab, a place for a screw, a carbon fiber spar, and your two plugs. The motor was pre-installed. Everything was already on there, the prop. Sometimes I will check these to make sure they're tight. I didn't do that on this one. Here's your landing gear. That is real aluminum, folks. It's made to fly and be flown a lot. Here's what you see on the underside. So this is something you might put on your own airplane. And this bolts right up. Here, speaking of bolts, are the bolts, carbon fiber tubes, and a Velcro strip for your battery. And I'm going to show you what goes where. So with the tail group, we've got to pop this link on. Very simple. You got to slide the carbon fiber rod into that elevator and stabilizer to get it on there. And then here's the screw that you'll be using to screw that onto the tail group. So simple, so easy. You just need a little screwdriver. And then here are the screws that you're going to use to put on your landing gear. Once again, just a Phillips head, and just make sure it fits well. You don't want to strip anything out. And then here is our gear installed. Looks great. The tail are the pants there actually stay on, and they're pre-installed. Here's the tail group all ready to go. I'm not kidding you. This is minutes. It says less than an hour, and that is certainly true. Here you see the wing plugging in. There's the carbon fiber tube and the two tabs and a top view. So this simply slides in, and then you're going to take your bolts and flip it over and bolt it in. And there they are. The instructions will tell you which goes where. And I did have a little issue. I might have shown the photo. That upper right-hand bolt did not want to align, so I had to hold that airplane next to my body and kind of pull it in to get it going. But bang, that's it. You're done. This is the plane on my bench finished. I did read the instructions, but other than making sure you put in carbon fiber tubes and all that stuff, it's pretty straightforward. What a good-looking airplane. Even my wife, I took it in and said, look what I just made. So if you're looking for something that flies great and builds fast, this is it. I'm running a 3S 3000 as prescribed by the E-flite doctors, and fits in there great. And then the next thing you're going to want to know is, hey, what about binding this to my transmitter and getting it all set up? It's in the instructions included in the box. I went on the internet and looked at this PDF. of a screenshot you're looking at here. And I just sat in front of my computer with my transmitter and set up all these parameters in my DX9. And then I went over and hit the bind button, bound the commander, and everything worked. The flaps worked, throttle up, it was trimmed out. By the way, I did put there was a little up trim in that elevator, so definitely check your trim out. But there she is. She's beautiful. She's ready to go. Let's go to the field and see how it flies.
Rolling.
Take it off. Right to left.
Taking off right to left.
Okay, so this is the Maiden Flight. This is our second takeoff. I actually had the elevator misaligned on our first takeoff, and it was it was surprising. So we got everything lined up for this flight. So technically, this is the Maiden. And look at that, man, like it's on rails. I think Jason comments on this in the flight video itself, but just super, super solid. So this is a sport airplane that can also do aerobatics. I would not call this a 3D plane at all. Plenty of power. There's the roll rate. Everything you're looking at here is stock settings. This is what is suggested. I do like fast roll rates, but I try not to do that in reviews like this. So there you go. So on the sticks is, of course, Jason Cole, and I flew it as well. Jason is the expert pilot. I am the average pilot. Also, what we're looking at here is how pretty it looks in the sky. With that checkerboard bottom and the red, black, and white. Those white wings really pop, I think. The red doesn't wash out. The red looks good. And it's probably the checkerboard that does that for it. And I guess I have a pretty cool shot we'll jump to in a second. But the question was, how did we like it? And it flew like, the Commander's not new. The reason I have it is I went to Horizon and I was like, I must be in possession of this. This is nice. I guess that's confidence inspiring. And so Miss Kim at Horizon said, sure, we'll send you one. We'll get a review going. And I was like, I want to be that guy because I see a lot of airplanes in my line of work, and I wouldn't say I rarely get hot. I tend to want everything, but I really, really, really wanted this one, so that's why we have this one here at the field. Plus, I knew if I reviewed this, Jason would be at the sticks as well, and you would get a great look at what this thing can do on the far side of the envelope. So I'm going to, well, there's some knife edge. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully I'll zoom out. I'd like to see if it's falling or not. All right, that looks pretty solid. Let's jump to some onboard footage that I thought might look cool. All right, you are now on the Commander. And it, if you ask me, does indeed look cool. So as you can see, it has plenty of power. It's fast. I'm betting with some increased throws, it could be faster. But, you know, the guy, I guarantee David Payne is the person who's suggesting these throws, and who would know better than David on what this plane should run at? I certainly wouldn't second guess it. So I'm going to jump into my conclusion, and then we'll go back out to the footage where we're looking at the airplane from the ground. As far as looks go, it could not look better. This is a conglomeration of multiple designs that everybody loves. And so this is kind of a fantasy plane, but it looks so great that you wouldn't know that. You would think that it was actually a real airplane that they've modeled this after. But Mirko and David put this together themselves. Then the trim scheme, once again, these are my favorite colors, but you know, Mirko did the trim scheme for the RC Group's plane and the full-scale aerobatic plane that Jim Burke competes in. And so Mirko's pretty famous for that. The scheme on this is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I always want to redo trim schemes, and I would not touch this. It's awesome. Plus, it's already pre-applied. Oh, the flaps are down. Let's talk about the flaps. So, of course, the servos for the flaps are pre-installed. They are on a Y-harness. I might touch on that in a second. But you set the radio up, like I said, per the instructions, and you have mid-flaps and full flaps. The transition to flaps doesn't create any noticeable bobble or you can't really, it stays nice and flat during the transition. And you want to be sure to look at that PDF because they do have you add some other things in with the flaps to keep it nice and smooth like that. Now, what would be cool is if the flaps are not on a wire harness, which of course you could do yourself, and couple the flaps with ailerons to get faster roll rates. But that's more of an advanced thing and not for the guy who just wants an airplane that they can fly. I think we're landing. No? Yes? And once again, this is our first real Maiden after we had a trim issue. So what a sweetheart. Let's jump back out of here and we'll get back in the air and give you some more footage.
Jason, give me some verbiage on your thoughts on the flight characteristics.
Man, it's hard to describe. This thing is so smooth and precise. This is literally my first flight on it. It's just like, it feels so comfortable and awesome right off the bat. It's like a pattern ship almost. And I'll take back off and pop the flaps. It's got a lot of power. Man, does it fly sweet. Alright, full flaps. Slows down really nice. There was no pitch up on the flaps.
And if you follow the manual, there's some ingredients there with the flaps and the elevator.
Woo! What a sweet airplane.
Have it, folks, the E-flite Commander, everything I hoped it was. If you're looking for a mid-size sport plane that goes together fast, looks great, and flies great, sporty, this is it. Great price, too. Horizon just keeps rocking them out. Thanks, Horizon. Always great to get a review plane that you not only enjoy reviewing, but will enjoy flying in the future. I'm Jim T. Graham with RCGroups.com. Thanks for watching and check back. Hit subscribe.